everybody. Today I'm excited to teach you about ear notching piglets. So ear notching pigs. I grew up on a dairy and tobacco farm, and one of the biggest, there's a lot of differences about cattle and pigs, but one of the things that I find most interesting is that we don't ear tag pigs. And the reason why we don't ear tag them is because pigs are very curious creatures. So they like to bite at each other and rip the tags off, and so that's something that's pretty unfortunate. And so one of the methods that they currently use within the hog industry is they like to use ear notching. Now, we don't really see that too commonly except in show pigs, okay? But one of the things too that we see as well is tattooing. And so that's kind of what we see when it comes to the pig world. And so ear notching is something that's pretty simple that we definitely are going to be seeing, especially in the show industry, as well as some homestead operations and different things like that. When I taught in Minnesota, I have a lot of students who had pigs, and so I found it very interesting. I learned a lot about pigs, but one of the coolest things was I learned how to ear notch, and obviously I teach that within our classes because that is a way that we identify the pigs within the industry. But before we get started ear notching pigs, which we will be able to do today, I also found that you need to learn how to read ear notches before you can do them and put them on a pig and it become permanent, okay? And so one of the things that we see is that the left side is going to be the litter number. Now, the litter number could be a number that we see within the industry that just tells us which sow had that specific pig, okay? And then the right side, and this is all dependent on if you're looking at the pig, okay? So if I'm facing the pig right here, here's the pig, the left side is going to be the litter number, and the right side is going to be the pig number. So the specific pig number, okay? So we're going to put left equals litter. And then the right side, excuse my pig ears, is going to be pig number. Okay? And so what I do now is that I just make sure that you all know the math. Okay, and so it's pretty simple math. It's kind of just good to kind of walk through it. But really the biggest thing whenever we're ear notching pigs is that each place has a little quadrant, okay? So this is where the pig's face will be. The left side, this is quadrant number 1. This is quadrant number 3. This is quadrant number 9. And this is 27. Now, at the very tip of the ear is going to be 81. Now, on the right side, this quadrant is 1, this is 3, and this is 9. We don't really go up to 27 on the right side just because the average number of hogs born, or piglets born to a hog, is not going to be over 27. And so that's kind of what our quadrants are looking at. Now, you can only maximum put about 2 notches per quadrant, okay? And so that's something to kind of remember and to make sure that we are reiterating, all right? So for example, on the left side, let's say that we have a piglet that's born, okay? And so on the left side, it's going to be litter number 28 and pig number 9. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to notch in the 27 quadrant, and then I personally subtract because that kind of helps me keep up and when I'm doing it on a worksheet. And then I notch in quadrant number 1. All right, then we get 28. And then the number 9 is pretty easy when we're notching that. Okay, so that's a little bit about ear notching. If we had time today, I would go through a couple of more with you all, but we just have to make sure that we know those quadrants before we get started on notching, okay? And so that's something that we utilize within the industry. Now, here I have a fake piglet, and then I've got some notchers here. Now, when piglets are born, we definitely want to make sure that they are being processed correctly. So if you're utilizing them for the show industry, we don't, like I said, we don't really see them in huge production hog barns anymore, notch piglets like they used to. But in the show industry, we're going to see those. So as you can see here, here's an ear that's already been notched. This is from Reality Works, so it's definitely a good tool to utilize, okay? Here we have our pig ear notcher, okay? And what we do is kind of like a hole puncher in a way.
Emery Cermak, if you are in the building, please call the office. Thank you.
It's kind of like a hole puncher in a way. And so what we do is we don't want to notch, okay? Because if you're holding a piglet, it's going to be squirming everywhere. It's going to be worried about that. But we don't want to notch. As you can see, we don't want to cover and take up the whole ear. We just, since they're piglets, they're going to grow into it. We just want to notch at the very tip of the ear, as you can see, okay? There are a couple of notches that are a little bit questionable, that are maybe a little bit too going crazy, but we just want to make sure that we are successful with that notching. So what I'm going to do, now if this was a live piglet, be going crazy, and you might see a little blood if there is a live piglet. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the practice ear within the head of the piglet. Okay? And then I'm just going to practice notching the ear. And as you can see, it was super simple, okay? And again, you might see a little bit of blood with an actual, let me get a different notcher. This one's acting a little crazy. But it's pretty simple, okay? Just like that. Now, it's kind of, the piglets are not going to remember this. It is a little bit traumatic for them, their first little bit, but they're not in the long run going to remember this at all. And so we are just going to practice today ear notching the pigs and getting them a successful ear notch. All right. So we are going to put the piglet's ears just like so, and here they are, okay? So if I'm ear notching, let's say on the litter number is going to be 35, okay? So what I do is I visually count the quadrants. So this is quadrant 1, quadrant 3, quadrant 9, quadrant 27. Okay, so if I'm ear notching, I'm going to go with quadrant 27 up here. And then I do 35 minus 27, which is going to be 8. Okay, so I know that I want to skip the quadrant 9. So then I go down here because I'm going to notch the 3 twice. It's important to make sure mine are getting stuck just a little bit. And then I'm going to notch the 2 twice. As you can see here, there's 35. Okay, and then the pig number is going to be 5. So I'm going to notch the 3 once, which is right here. And then I'm going to notch the 1 twice. And that is how you get 35.5 for your pig. If you have any questions, please let me know. It should be pretty simple and it should be able to rock and roll. But thank you so much for watching the demonstration. That's how